47:07, everybody. 47 minutes, 7 seconds. This is where Milo knows what motivates social justice warriors, but then he sticks it to Jordan Peterson for being part of the prestige economy. And I think if I remember this part correctly, he tells him once again that he's not exactly very fun. If I remember this correctly, he calls him kind of like a stuffy, crotchety old man.
Well, yeah.
I think one of my, in addition to my ability to sort of see around corners and culturally and sort of tell what's coming next, which I'm very good at, I'm also very good at sort of intuitively figuring out what makes people tick and what drives them. And I quickly identified that social justice warriors were sort of hurting and wanting everyone else to hurt like they were. When I very first started doing my speeches, because it was something I had felt myself, but only as a child. I had grown out of it, and clearly they had not grown out of it.
Right.
Okay, hold on. These facts over that feels over reals right there, because this is just what I feel like, right? That's some feels over real shit.
Well, he said that he's very good at determining. What did he say? Determining people's feelings or people's motives.
Intuiting their feelings.
Yeah. Intent, basically.
Yeah, so if he said he's good at it, then
and the thing is, he doesn't necessarily, he has this gnostic insight. He thinks he knows what's going on in someone else's head, but he doesn't. He's just guessing. But he's but because he credits his these things that he just thinks of as his intuition, then they're somehow more authentic. See also George W. Bush looking into someone's soul.
Vladimir Putin.
Yeah.
I looked into his soul. I can't do it, but I can't. We need Sam Cedar from the Majority Report on this show. I know he's busy, but
I looked into his soul.
Oh, that's right. This is the guy with the impressions.
I do have a good Bush impression.
Oh God! You're taking me right back to 2005.
But only as a child.
Wasn't it great?
I had grown out of it.
Fuck you.
And clearly they had not grown out of it.
Right.
But I saw in them that same sort of petty, vengeful, vindictive desire to make the world burn. Because they were hurting, that I had felt myself as a 13, 14, 15-year-old. And so I understood them. And that's why I was able, and still am able, like nobody else, to get under their skin. Because I get what makes them tick in a way that not many other people do. Because none of the other conservatives who are sort of, withering, or contemptuous of them actually understand where they're coming from, like I do. Which is why they hate me like they hate nobody else.
Right. Well, because part of the thing that's so strange about you is that by all rights, you should be on their side.
I should be one of them, really. I ought to be.
Right. That's right. Logically speaking, that would be your natural resting place. And so it is one of the things that, well, I also thought right from the beginning that was one of the things that put you in terrible long-term danger of, encountering a scandal that would do you in. I mean, it just seems so improbable to me that you could weather that degree of, and that's what I mean by the paradoxical combination that you bring to the situation. It's too many contradictory things to maintain themselves, regardless of your psychological integration or lack thereof.
I mean, I think I'm pretty well adjusted now, but I think perhaps another reason that this career stuff just doesn't bother me is that I don't work in the same economy that a lot of other people do, in the prestige economy. You wanted prestige when you asked Cambridge for that fellowship, and you sort of invited that little embarrassment on yourself because you asked for it. Because although you declared
war, they said I asked for it, but that wasn't exactly.
Well, if you didn't, you didn't. But you declared war on a class of institution, a higher education, to then ask for or expect or be pleased to receive baubles from institutions that you had declared war on struck me as very odd and obviously destined for, a mess.
Okay, an evil clock is right twice a day.
That's like the best breakdown of what happens to Jordan Peterson when he deals with other academics that I fucking ever heard. Like, Milo is a big asshole, but he fucking hit that nail fucking right in the center and right to this guy's face. So,
and after such a bad comment,
yeah,
about the social justice, and I love how he just presents himself as, there's no way that I'm wrong about this, but let me tell you exactly how social justice warriors think.
Yes. I mean, we're only 6 episodes in, and we're seeing this kind of commonality to the public lights of the intellectual dark web.
Well, to be fair, I don't think that people put Milo in the IDW, but Peterson squarely is. And this, and I chose this because it was fresh, and we haven't done anything fresh yet, and because I didn't want to torture the people on Sunday with this.
Oh man. Oh yeah. I mean, I'm reminded of Milo's foray into gospel music.
You know, we'll drop that during the post game. Have you heard "Rather Have Jesus Than Silver and Gold" before, Hunter?
No, I haven't.
Oh, it's super good.
Oh, it's great. It's great.
So here he's going to continue to give Jordan Peterson a little bit of the business, and then I think we're going to go. We got one more that we're going to play, one more timestamp, and then we're going to get out of here because we're going to try to do hard outs at an hour on these from now on because they're just too long.
Right.
We've gotten some positive feedback and, of course, a couple of nasty YouTube comments saying you're taking them out of context, which is like, yeah, that was the intent.
Oh, no.
How come you couldn't? You know, the one thing before we move on, I want to say that, like, he and last week, Sam Harris, they're divining everyone's intent, right? Like they're telling you that they have intuited the intent of people. And Milo doesn't like sell himself as a skeptic. I know he's an atheist, but he's not out there selling himself as a skeptic. But Sam Harris is, and the idea
he's certainly not a skeptic.
No. And well, I mean, if somebody tells me they believe they're a skeptic, I believe that they believe they're a skeptic, right? Like it's like when somebody tells me they're Catholic, I just fucking believe them. But yeah, but he doesn't apply. He doesn't endeavor to apply critical thinking. He
doesn't speak like a skeptic would.
Right. He doesn't hedge ever.
Yeah.
Ever. Harris doesn't do a lot of hedging either, but the idea that these people are able to divine everybody's intent just based on the fact that they disagree is fucking crazy time. Fucking full on crazy delusions of grandeur, fucking nonsense. I don't know what anybody's intent is. That's why I work really hard to, when I'm talking about people, I focus on what they said and what the impact of that is on the broader conversation they're having or on society. I don't give a fuck if somebody meant well, if they're a public figure. If somebody buys me a gift that I don't like, but they meant well, that's different. That's an interpersonal interaction. They were trying to do something nice and it doesn't have any impact on society. If somebody meant well, but they said something stupid, I just give that a pass too, right? It just doesn't matter. But as far as somebody who's saying things out there in public, especially somebody is with a platform the size of everybody we've been talking about, I just give a fuck what they intend. Don't care. Could give two shits what's in their brain because millions of eyes are on their content.
Right. And it's the, and hand in hand with that is the implication that, it's not really racist unless you do it with hatred in your heart. And it's, things can be racist while having the best intentions. They can still have a racist effect. And in that sense, chasing intent or caring about intent is kind of a red herring.
Well, and like I said, these people, this guy not so much as Harris, but it drives me nuts that all these super smart geniuses who want to tell you that they're fucking all intellectual and that they're using critical thinking, that they're just divining everyone's intent. It's just driving me fucking crazy. So we're going to skip ahead to an hour 5, and this will be our last clip on the main show here. We could have done 2 hours on this, but I didn't want to do that to myself, to either of you, or to anybody who might be watching this Twitch stream or our YouTube channel. By the way, smash that subscribe button and the bell if you are tuned in, because you should be alerted to all of our nonsense. So here we go. Here's the last set of clips. This is from about an hour 5 and 30 seconds. And we're gonna let it go here because after this one is just some weird shit about a book about the Vatican and a cabal of homosexual bishops and shit. This one's gonna be about numbers for age gaps, and Milo's gonna pretty much give a shout out to conversion therapy, wishing that it worked. It's pretty bad. As the kids might say, this is really cringe.
Most effective champions. Because I'm fine. I'm doing good.
Okay, so let's talk about that being fine. So I want to go back to.
You don't have to be.
I still have a question about the older man, younger man relationship issue.
Oh, can't we talk about something else?
Well, humor me for 2 more minutes, because there's actually something I want to go with
happen.
this.
Okay.
2 more minutes is what's not going to happen.
The first issue is, where's the line properly drawn in those relationships as far as you're concerned with regards to age? And where is it usually drawn? Because those
now you're trying to get me. Now you're trying to get me in trouble.
I'm not. I'm really not. I don't want to get you in trouble.
I don't think there is a line to properly be drawn, because you're basically just talking degrees of degeneracy at that point, aren't you?
There it is.
I can tell you how the line is drawn. The line is drawn arbitrarily, but it's drawn arbitrarily based on what we know about human psychology, supposedly. So drawing that line, the United States draws it at 18, Great Britain draws it at 16, and those are within the range of what the common wisdom in psychology and social sciences says, where people are capable of consenting. Of course, each individual is different, and there might be 19-year-olds who aren't ready for sex and 15-year-olds who might be, but we can't do it that way, because these people who love small government can imagine the bureaucracy that would be created by having to do these each as like completely individual cases where, all that matters is like, was the individual ready? Imagine the elephantine bureaucracy that would be propped up for such a thing.
And imagine the ways that people could grease their way through that bureaucracy.
That's right. So let's let this roll some more here.
Well, I want to know, by coming back to this over and over again, is Jordan Peterson trying to appeal to people who want what's the word you said before?
Ebophilia.
Is he trying to appeal to ebophilics?
That's, again, it's trying to, like, his intent, the effect seems to be that, right? The effect seems to be that there's a little bit of a safe haven here for specifically the priest. Milo can make that safe haven as the victim in this particular incident. I think he has a little more standing to do it in that specific incident, but I think Peterson is trying to get him to draw like broader conclusions about age of consent and the law around it, and maybe not the law around it, but like the ethics or the morality around it. And I think Milo isn't taking the bait, because he already did it once and he got fucked. You say what you want about Milo, he's not a dummy. He may be wrong, but he ain't a dummy.
Yeah, he
burned his hand once. He's not going to touch the fucking stove again. And he's just told him, he's like, let's talk about something else. I don't know what's going on here. If I could just get inside Jordan Peterson's head for 5 minutes, I think there's just money falling from the sky in his head, right? I think that's what's going on, is he's trying to get that money, and he's trying to
make a controversy, maybe.
He's trying to get Milo to say something stupid again, so that his video is that he.
Right, because his audience is looking for dunks. And if he doesn't deliver dunks, his audience might shrink.
Because you're basically just talking degrees of degeneracy at that point, aren't you? The fact that you get saddled with this aberrant sexuality and you then have to go out and make the best of it. The fact that you find this paternal or avuncular dimension in a relationship with an older man that may also have a sexual component. This is layer upon layer upon layer of dysfunction. So you're not going to get me to say 10 years is the right gap, because none of it's the right gap. It's all fucked up.
What's the alternative?
I don't know.
Partly hypothetically,
I wish conversion therapy
would be marriage.
I wish.
Oh, you motherfucker! Oh, dude,
you son of a bitch! That's okay.
Here we
that's
go.
About the worst way to say conversion therapy is ineffective. But way to go, Milo. You've really lowered the bar here.
Partly hypothetically,
I wish conversion therapy would
be marriage.
Oh.
I wish conversion therapy worked. At least
you said that before.
At least in the case of lesbians, we know that we can push women back back with men, and most of them will be happier as a result. With men, on the other hand,
okay, check this out.
What?
I don't want to do this actually guy shit, but that's a big fucking claim, right? That's a big
source, please.
That's a big fucking claim. I think maybe while we during like if we can try to find out where he got that information, we could talk about it a little in the postmortem here, because we could try to find out where that is. I would suggest to you that, and I'm not an expert on this stuff, Brimble. From what I understand, women are more prone to being bisexual than men. There are more, like in the LGBT community, a higher percentage of women who are attracted to women are also attracted to men than men who are attracted to men are also attracted to women. I don't know what the reason is, but
I would say it's probably our society.
Or maybe more women are out as bisexual than men. Maybe it's more acceptable. In fact, people like Jordan Peterson may very well, while they don't like gay culture, they probably watch lesbian porn. Most men do.
Everyone can enjoy a good dick, right?
I mean, I don't know. I've enjoyed some less than stellar dicks, but they were attached to wonderful people. So it's like,
maybe that's what Milo is trying to say: is everyone can enjoy a good dick.
But no, he said that was degenerate in some fashion.
Oh yeah, that
and,
shit.
That is some serious Nazi vocabulary. I mean, they had a whole series about the degenerate art exhibition that the Nazis had this collection of modern art that they thought was bad or ineffective or just plain pornographic, and they had a big exhibit. And then they discovered to their horror that the people wanted the degenerate art more than they wanted the right and proper German traditional family art.
And the other thing is, like, if I'm not mistaken here, he's just saying that homosexuality is degeneracy. And first of all, you're right. The word degenerate is fucking loaded. I
thought he was saying an age gap is degeneracy. Or is he saying both?
Yeah. Well,
go ahead.
Yeah, he's calling his sexuality aberrant as well as degenerate. He's throwing around these words in front of a clinical psychologist who should, by rights, stop the conversation and say, those are not the right words to use, young Mr. Yiannopoulos.
Okay, the word deviant could be used, but that word is also fucking loaded too. But in a clinical term, it just means deviating from the norm. So in like the way a clinical person would use the word deviant would be something that's maybe, 5% of people or something.
Like atypical.
Atypical, right?
Right.
But when we use the word deviant when we use it colloquially, it doesn't mean that. It's got a very negative connotation.
Yeah.
Right. When a newspaper editor would use it, or a paperback author.
Right. You could say uncommon, and it's more value neutral, because gay people are, as a portion of our society, uncommon. High estimates are 10%.
Mm-hmm.
Some people say 2% because, I don't know, they fucking are wrong. It's probably somewhere between 5 and 10. That's what most social scientists are saying. We're going to let this roll, though. Maybe he'll clarify whether or not he's saying gay is degenerate, because that was the impression I got from that. And mind you, they probably would say that I have like a smooth brain without a lot of wrinkles in it, because I'm not very SJW and an NPC or whatever. And I don't want to put words in this guy's mouth, because he says enough dumb shit on his own that I don't really need to do it. So let's let this roll here and see. If he clarifies this point. But what you said about sitting across from a clinical psychologist this was supposed to be some kind of therapy session, he's doing a shitty job, because he's saying, hey, you're framing this all very negatively, and some people just happen to be gay, which is what I would expect a reputable psychologist or engaged in therapy with a gay person to say to them. Sure, it's out of the ordinary, but we're allowing gay marriage now. We've decided as a society that it's fine. You're fine. But that's not what Peterson's going to say.
It's out of the ordinary to be an astronaut too,
right? And
that's also fine.
There's a really weird your mama joke about your mama being an astronaut that I never understood.
And back with men, and most of them will be happier as a result. With men, on the other hand, some of us are just gay, and I'm not going to be drawn on what the correct kind of fucked up dysfunctional experience
first of all,
is.
I wasn't trying to corner you, I don't want to corner you. This is something I'm really curious about, because you made the case, and you made a strong case, that relationships between younger men and older men were very common in the gay community. And that seems...
Well, it's not me making the case. That's an established fact. I mean, every gay person knows that. That's got nothing to do with me. That's just me pointing out something that every gay person knows, which is that when people first become sexually active or aware of their sexual orientation, or they first start to go out on the scene or whatever, they very often form an attachment with an older man. It may just be somebody 5 years older. In some cases, it's somebody a little bit older than that.
Fair enough. How often do you think that that's happening at the age that it happened to you?
I think it happens all the time. I think it happens everywhere.
Yes. People fucking engage in statutory rape on a goddamn daily basis. And
doesn't that also happen in the straight community, though?
Yeah, but we don't. The thing is, like, for whatever reason, the priests, there's a lot of stuff going on with the priests and why it's boys instead of girls. I think there's more shame, and they thought, I don't think they think it through, right? But in this scenario, the priests choose boys for whatever reason. I don't know. Maybe they're just gay. Maybe they're drawn to that kind of job because they can be around young boys. I don't know.
I would assume they're gay.
Well, I don't know because, like, it's a really bad example, especially because it's kind of ahistoric and not completely accurate. But the way that we think about Greek society, the ancient Greeks, right? They would, and there's people, hopefully somebody listening to this knows the history better than this and can maybe give us some more information on it in the YouTube comments, and then they'll be called a cuck, which will be fucking fantastic, right? Because that's exactly what we're going for. But when we think about Greek society, the idea that it's not historically correct, but that young boys were used for sex and the same people would have a female partner. And I think we think about the Romans that way too. So it was like, the homosexuality there was generally thought of to be on the side of a relationship with a woman, sort of just for pleasure. I know this is historically inaccurate, but I know that this is the way that a lot of people view it and think about it. So were those people gay? Were they straight? Were they bisexual? Or were sexual norms, if that were accurate, were they just so dramatically different at the time that we can't really put it into like our modern understanding of sex and sexuality because of the time frame, and like you had to dig a hole to take a shit and whatnot.
But if you're getting off on it, you're at least part gay, right?
I'd argue if they're 14, what you are is a predator.
Yeah, but
like, what if they're not attracted to adult men? Are they gay, or are they just a fucking child abuser? You know what I'm saying?
They'd be part gay.
Oh,
gay for kids and straight for adults.
Oh, that's weird. Now we're weird. About to get into trouble here. No, but I mean,
that's going to get us into trouble.
Well, no, I mean, I understand what you're saying. I understand what you're saying. I just maybe,
like, if you're attracted to little boys and adult women, that's what you are, right?
Right. But I'm not sure that, I don't know. As a gay person who's been subject to the stereotype that gay people are more likely to abuse children, I'm just hesitant to describe it that way. I don't think that you're wrong, and I don't think that I just wouldn't describe it that way. Is all I'm going to say. Like I don't think that you're wrong, and I don't think that you're like, oh, gay people like to abuse kids, and that makes them gay. Like,
well, no, that would mean that straight people would be more likely. I mean, if that were a common thing in society, that would mean that straight people would be more likely to abuse kids of the same gender, right?
In fact, it's probably, I would wager that that's the case, just raw numbers at least, because they're, 10 times as many. So some percentage of those people are going to abuse children. Let's let this roll a little bit more, and then we're going to say our goodbyes and get out of here. And maybe we'll apologize for this, because we've gotten ourselves into some trouble. We've gotten ourselves into some trouble here.
Oh, heck.
And I think it's an inevitable result of having an aberrant sexuality, where you have to seek out kind of alternative parental figures because yours aren't fit for purpose for this particular part of adolescence, Right,
but then you just said too that this isn't an objection, that you don't see a clear ethical pathway forward out of that.
Well, none of it's ethical. I mean, it's all debased and degenerate. But
how? What? Okay, so what do you mean by that exactly?
Because I think there's an element of predatoryness in almost every gay interaction and relationship, and this is just one example where it is more.
What the fuck?
Whoa!
No.
Well, I mean, yeah, it's just his opinion. He just started that with the words "I think," therefore he can't be held responsible for any of the shit that followed.
Is he talking about this?
In the homosexual community, one's called the bottom, the other's called the top.
Is that what he's talking about?
I have
All
no
of it.
idea.
I've
never heard that opinion.
I fucking know. My last real relationship with the guy, nobody was we were both kind of predators on each other, but that was fun. I'd wake up and be like, what's going on? Oh, great. Hooray. We've been together for 6 months. You definitely have consent for this. But to say that, what the here, we're just going to let him say it again because that's ridiculous.
Go on.
There's fucking gay people are shy and fucking some are aggressive, some are shy, some are outgoing, some are a little weird about sex, just like everybody fucking else. If you're more outgoing and someone else is shy, doesn't mean you're the aggressor. I don't even know what he's talking about.
Wouldn't that dynamic play out in men and women more, since men in general are physically stronger than women? But
the difference is that they're not degenerate because they're in the norm.
Oh, okay.
They're in the norm. Oh, man.
What do you mean by that exactly?
Because I think there's an element of predatoriness in almost every gay interaction and relationship. And this is just one example where it is more obvious and more visible. But I think that there is a predatory component in even in gay friendships. And you think about the way that...
well, that might have something to do with the more predatory element of male sexuality.
Right. And
we're going to talk about undiscussable things. Right.
Well, you take the controlling, calming, mediating influence of women out of the equation, and men just hype each other up, which is why gay men end up promiscuous, right? Because you're taking out that
restraint.
Right, exactly. Restraint's the word I was looking for. You're taking out the restraint that's typically provided by the woman. And instead you can just, whatever.
Okay, so hypothetically that was supposed to be solved, at least in part, by the introduction of socially sanctioned monogamous relationships, right? Because I've had friends, I knew about heightened male promiscuity among the homosexual community, and it's heightened by a substantial margin. And the liberal types, who I thought were reasonable, and I certainly don't think all of them are, made the claim to me that the reason for that enhanced promiscuity was that all the male homosexual sexual activity had to occur behind the scenes, and that it was impossible for men.
That's a ridiculous argument. That's a ridiculous argument. Male homosexual promiscuity is obviously simply a function of what happens when you put two men together attracted to one another, and you don't have the restraint of a woman who would normally.
Hold on. Why not both? Why not men do tend? Okay, so check this out. You know how women. They have I'm citing a funny mockumentary now called The Boys and Girls Guide to Getting Down, which, by the way, I would recommend everyone watch. It's about 10 years old now, so it's in DVD quality, so it's not going to look so good on your big fucking high def TV. But there's a thing that women experience anecdotally called their horny week. I believe it's right before their period, and they're have a higher sex drive. It's probably partly hormonal and some societal influence. And men, the mockumentary said, and it's probably pretty accurate, they said to the women, hey, imagine just being like that all the time. And there's some biological reason for it, because men are fertile all the time and women aren't always fertile, so maybe that has something to do with it. But it also, when I've met, when I started kind of hanging out in the gay scene, going to the Castro, I met older people who lived in the Castro and had to be closeted. So their relationship was, as they were saying, behind closed doors in a lot of ways. They couldn't have what the word normal is wrong, but what society would consider to be a normal relationship where you go to dinner. Yeah, typical.
A normative.
Yeah, they couldn't be the same as a heterosexual couple in so many ways. Your work, just because you lived in the Castro doesn't mean you could bring in the 80s or whatever, you could bring your husband or your boyfriend or whatever to the dinner party at work. You just couldn't do it at all workplaces. Maybe in San Francisco it was a little more enlightened and there were more places, but there was that stuff going around. So to a rational person, what would the point of a long-term relationship under that kind of duress be, where you could get your nut off and remain mostly anonymous and mostly closeted where people didn't know, which was to your benefit if you were just promiscuous and slept around. Like, it's, why not both? And it's not like when we passed gay marriage, all of a sudden everybody was out of the closet. There's still closeted people, young closeted people. On my Grindr, I see people who say they're on the down low all the time. Here, within 5 miles of where we're sitting, there's people who are adults in their mid-20s who feel the need to not be open about their sexuality here. And that's just a small sample set on Grindr. The fact that I see any of them at all, like, takes apart Peterson's point about the acceptance, because we're supposed to be in this place where, and I find that the South Bay and even before I moved to Campbell, my friend Rob, who I moved here with, said, hey, he's like, this is one of the best suburbs in California for gay people. He's like, of course we should move to Campbell. but it was a joke, but it was, by the way, you can make gay jokes like that one. It was funny. It was funny because that's why I would, in basically San Jose, I would consider which of the little tiny enclaves was better to be a Mo in. I mean, so you can make gay jokes and you can do it right to your friend's face and it could be funny and you can not be a bigot. But yeah, the idea that it's like, it has to be one or the other, this like, oh, sorry. These guys all like, isn't a false dichotomy like a pretty obvious logical fallacy?
Yeah. Yeah. It's one of the informal ones, but yeah, false dilemma. Yeah, false binary. Yeah. A
famous one is after 9/11, you're either with us or against us. You either want to go to war and invade all these countries or you're with the terrorists. It's the most clear example of why that's broken thinking. You either, or incels, they might say, oh, well, women either want to fuck me or they don't respect me at all. Right. And that's not the case. The friend zone is a false dichotomy, right? Where you're, oh, well,
every friendship is necessarily destined to become a sexual relationship given enough time and favors.
And if it's not, that's not really your friend, or they've put you in the friend zone where
because they know that they can get things out of you,
right? Where it couldn't possibly just be the same reason that I have male friends. I enjoy people's company. I find them interesting, entertaining, fun to bounce ideas off of, fun to podcast with, fun to now Twitch stream with. None of these things are possible for male, female. Yeah, it's a false choice. It's they either want to fuck me or they don't respect me at all. And this is like a pretty bad example of that, because it could be, there are places where maybe gay marriage did help people and more people came out and more people had more what you would call normative, like more heteronormative style relationships. But there's millions of people for which that doesn't make a shit, like a lick of difference because of where they live. And so they're probably still just hooking up because then they don't have to be seen at dinner with the person and be concerned that someone they know sees them there and might start calling them a faggot or out them to their boss or out them to the people at school if they're a college student, or any of these number of things that still happen. And yep. So I think we're almost done here, but I gotta hear more about this, because this is all fucking wrong.
This is so messed up.
This is like a, I think this guy like does not like that he's a homosexual, or he's playing it
he clearly doesn't.
He's playing it like that because he knows it'll play with his conservative audience, and he could be perfectly fine as a gay person. We don't know what he believes, right?
Remember what I was saying in the beginning, where the reason Republicans like him is because he shares their same bigotry, including bigotry against gays.
He would probably say gay culture. But I mean, that's a fucking stupid thing, right? Because
it's made of gay people.
Right. And the other thing is, like, I know a lot of different kinds of gay people. I would say that I'm more traditionally masculine than a lot of gay people, but that doesn't mean that that's gay culture. Like, it's absurd. It's like this big, the rainbow's like, it's kind of cheesy, but it's a good analog for gay culture. There's Queenie guys, there's more, traditionally masculine guys, there's lesbian people. There's people who present as a different gender than their sex organs. I mean, there's all kinds of stuff going on here, and we're not just one thing. And we're certainly not equal in Western society yet. We're getting there, but the reason people hook up can be sex drive, but it can also be, I just can't have a relationship because I can't be seen in public with you. And I just avoid those guys. I don't want that shit. Even if I'm just looking for like a date or like some fun, I still don't want that drama. Like if they're fucking really interesting and then like, oh, well, we can't really go to dinner. It's like, well, fuck off. I go to dinner with my, me and the councilman from the Sunday show, we meet for coffee or lunch once a week. We ain't dating. He's married. Like, what the fuck? What does this mean? What this is? But that's the thing, is that like, I've definitely met gay guys that I would have dated if not for the fact that they feel pressure from society to not be open, to not be seen out in public with a partner. And that's here. So and they in turn end up just hooking up because they still want sex. And because they're a man and they have generally more sex drive than, most women, I might not be saying that. As a demographic, men have a self-reported stronger sex drive than women. It plays out in a lot of ways in our society. This is fucking dumb. I don't know how much more of this shit.
Some of those men too end up marrying women and just getting dick on the side.
Some of them, and in that case, they can't even tell their wife. Not in all cases. There are cases where men are bisexual and they have open relationships and they're happy and healthy, and good on you, especially if your wife's getting a piece on the side too and everybody's being responsible and fucking respecting everybody and you have some threesomes and shit. Good on you. But that's just degeneracy.
Honesty is sexy. I just wanted to say that.
It's
disclosure is sexy.
It's sexy, or it just gets you out of a bad situation earlier. Like if someone tells you, oh yeah, I was sleeping around on you, then you can fucking leave. Or you can be like, well, that's good. Can I do that too? Whatever works. But this is his description of gayness and gay people, man. This guy, like, oh man, if he believes what he's saying, which is hard to know, and I would hesitate to say that this is a guy who believes everything that he says just based on his behavior.
Right.
This is bad. This is like some really, really horribly internalized homophobia if he believes these things. And I feel sorry for him, and I feel sorry for his husband if he believes these things about gay people, or maybe his husband's one of the good ones. Oh, he's also black. So he's one of the good ones. One of the good ones.
Oh God, you're right.
One of the good twos. Is that how that works?
It's one of the good ones, 1/4, because it's squared.
Oh, it's squared. Okay. All right, we're gonna let a little more of this roll, but this is a really nice display, and I'm about to stuff my fucking fist through it. So I think, and we're a little long, as is always
as per usual.
Yeah, the hard limit of an hour, right?
Yeah,
have the restraint of a woman who would normally be over. It's obvious, and also you cannot successfully box a transgressive sexual identity into, what we say, heteropatriarchal institutions like marriage, and expect gay people to just suddenly become, normal, monogamous, whatever. It doesn't work like that.
Okay, I agree with that. That's exactly what I just fucking said, is that you can't, after all these years of being pushed into the closet by society, you can't just pass a law and then everybody's fucking cool and holding hands walking down the street like it's fucking Leave It to Beaver and shit. Or they didn't hold hands on Leave It to Beaver. That was too racy.
Yeah, they slept in 2 twin beds in the same bedroom.
You know what? That's not degenerate at all.
That's not what you're supposed to do.
I had a relationship where about half of the nights my boyfriend slept in his own room here because he was up late studying, or I went out and he didn't, and I'd come home drunk, and there was that was fine. But that wasn't 2 twin beds. He had a nice queen size bed too.
And you're supposed to have sex with all your clothes on, right?
Man,
lights off.
Let's not put this Pleasantville rules on stuff here.
Oh man. All right. This is like really, really, really hard. Like I know that he's a bad person and that he's had a negative impact on the world around him. But if he really believes this stuff, this guy needs a real therapist to talk to, like not Jordan Peterson. But Jordan Peterson's going to either tacitly agree by not saying anything, or even a couple times, if you notice, he tried to rephrase things for Milo so that they were said in a more thoughtful way, if I could accuse Jordan Peterson of being thoughtful. And Milo wasn't having it, which is really interesting. So we're going to let this roll a little bit more, but then I got to play this song and we got to say goodbye.
You're right.
Well, it seemed to, okay, that's fine. But it seemed to me that in some sense, here's something else that is no doubt going to cause trouble. It seemed to me that was kind of part of the bargain. Like, wasn't that the bargain?
I always thought that was part of the deal, is that, in exchange for having this millstone around your neck, in exchange for the terrible agony of giving up fatherhood.
He's going to say it.
Which, you can adopt and blah, blah, blah. But ultimately, basically, it's like joining the priesthood. You give up fatherhood. In exchange, you get to participate in a sort of taboo-breaking, transgressive, experimental life that performs perhaps some kind of societal function, might even perform an evolutionary function, and which
you have the excitement of the marginal.
Exactly, and that's why I am the world's greatest hypocrite on one subject and one subject only, and that's gay marriage. And that's because I don't have the foggiest idea what I think still, even though I've got one. I'm under no illusions that it is a union under the Lord, but I remain politically against gay marriage, despite the fact that I got one, because I met somebody who completed me and I couldn't think of anything else to do, but of course I would marry him. So I'm a mess on that subject.
Yeah, that's definitely a mess.
This is going to be a good place to leave it.
Only a hypocrite on the one subject, the one.
No, he's a hypocrite about a lot.
But he just said.
But I know that's what he said. That's what he's self-reporting about himself, is that he's incredibly consistent in every other area of his life, but his fact that gay marriage is a way to impose strict moral standards on the fabulously transgressive population. Oh God, I'm just. I need a shower. I need 2 showers. I need this joint and a shower.
Yeah,
gay marriage.
He said politically he's against it, but that doesn't mean anything, right?
Yeah.
Like I don't think it means anything. Like first of all, if he believes this, he needs to be seeing a different fucking therapist, okay? Because this is some fucked up shit. First of all, he went and got gay married. He posted it all. Oh, no. Okay, he went and got gay married in Hawaii and posted that shit all on Instagram because it was marketing for himself, I think. I mean, I don't question that he's in a relationship where he is, believes that this is the right person for him or whatever, but the reason that he put it all up on public and stuff was marketing for himself, I have to believe. Because he's all about marketing himself. But
who's he trying to market to, though?
The conservatives. It's like do you know who Jesse Lee Peterson is? That really dumb black guy who he debated.
I think so.
He debated Destiny. He debated David Pakman. We've played him a couple times on the show. He's got some kind of speech impediment and he's not very bright.
Yeah.
He doesn't exist for anything else except to tell racist white people that they're right. And I think Milo serves the same purpose, to tell bigoted against gay people, homophobic, kind of right-wing people or whatever, that they're okay because this gay guy believes the same thing about gayness or gay marriage. I think he serves that purpose. I don't know what he believes, but I know that the result is that he's someone out there telling people who don't like gay people or think it's a sin or whatever, that it's okay because there's this gay guy Milo who thinks that too. It's like a really simple, and it's identity politics.
Yeah, we've got someone here who's reinforcing your stereotypes. And doesn't that feel good to know that there's someone who's he's obviously got blonde highlights. He's obviously swanning about and lighting the loafers and generally having all the having all the signs point to this person is a homosexual who is looking for homosexual action, and everyone's like, oh, that's what a faggot looks like.
But this one agrees with us.
He must be one of the good ones too.
Yeah. So I guess we're gonna leave it there for the people on YouTube and on the podcast version. If you're tuned in live on Twitch or the Icecast, we're gonna do a little bit of post-mortem. We're gonna play. Maybe we'll do a little bit more of this video, but I'm fucking pretty. This is. I mean, this show. It's taking a lot more like emotional energy than I thought it was going to take to do this show. Like I feel like burned out after this because instead of just making fun of him for fucking like the minute and a half or 2 minutes we play on the Sunday show, you're engaging with this stuff.
We're analyzing.
Oh God.
Well, yeah, because the really difficult stuff like this, the stuff where one talk show host is psychoanalyzing the other talk show host live on air. That's the kind of thing that would make most of our Sunday panel flee the studio.
Right. Well, I'm glad I have fucking you lunatics with me who are. I know you're in the trenches on this stuff, and I know that I'm talking to the breadboard baker, by the way, and I know that HK shares. I don't know if you share this with us, but we were new atheists. We were this community that eventually morphed into like these IDW worshipers. We were in that community and we watched it come apart. It split in half.
Yeah.
And the nice people went one direction and people like the people we cover on this show went the other direction. There's nothing contradictory about being kind and caring about having a more just society where we don't treat people like shit because of their identity. There's nothing contradictory with that in skepticism and atheism. In fact, could not be anything contradictory with that in atheism because atheism is simply the lack of a belief in a deity. It's nothing else.
Atheism answers one question.
Do you believe in a God?
It doesn't say anything about what kind of person you are.
Well, now more and more it does. If I see somebody and they said something on Twitter that I think could either be shitty or not shitty, then I go look at their profile and the first thing it says is atheist. I'm like, that person meant the shitty thing.
Yeah.
Or if they call themselves an intellectual, I'm like, oh no, other people call you that. You should never call yourself that. Right? You don't become an intellectual until everybody else thinks you're one. And
if you ever call yourself a stable genius, it means you're a fucking idiot.
Right.
So, hey, everybody, that's a little bit of probably what we're going to be talking about in the post game, but and you learned a little bit about where some of us are coming from. Breadboard, though, before we go, did you get on that? Were you in that kind of new atheist thing? Were you kind of stoked on the atheist speaking out in the early days?
Yeah, I was into it as much as when Hitchens, when Christopher Hitchens would say things like, we as a society have evolved beyond the need for a God figure, and that is like, oh well, finally this sounds like we can move past this sectarian strife and just be focused on helping each other out, and maybe if we give people an alternative to their religion, they would happily choose no religion. Nope. They prefer their old ways, and they prefer the part where they get to think that God's on their side, and the other guys are a bunch of stinking infidels.
So the short answer is yes. All right, we're going to get out of here, everybody. Thanks for checking out this, especially to the live viewers, especially on Twitch, because we're trying to build our Twitch channel. That's twitch.tv/Echoplex Media, or you can just go to echoplexmedia.com/Twitch, and there's a little player there, so you can, be on our website, which is where you should usually be. Join our chat at discord.me/Echoplex. We had a couple people join before the show today. I haven't been monitoring the Discord, but welcome to the new people in the Discord. We're slowly creeping up on 300 people in Discord, which is pretty fucking cool, because a lot of the other podcast fucking Discords that I'm in don't have no 300 people in them, that's for sure. Big podcasts do, or their Discord is private. Yeah. You can support us at patreon.com/Echoplex. Buy us, I don't know, some better cameras. I'd like some real lenses in here, because these little webcams are, while they claim to be high resolution, they get pretty grainy when you start trying to resize them and whatnot. And something with a real lens would be good at that. Go to our website, subscribe to this as a podcast. You can find it at all the pod places, and nobody else has a name that shows up in search when you search for the Intellectual Dollar Tree.
And gently press the subscribe button and physically assault the bell.
That's right. That's right. The subscribe button, it's getting a lot of use. The bell probably doesn't get so much use, and the bell needs to be rung. Thanks, everybody. Thanks for supporting this show. Thanks to all our patrons. Maybe I'll start listing our patrons at the end of this show like some of the other YouTubers do.